in the series of Nordic Circular Economy 2020, What's Next? Today, we are very honored to welcome our keynote speaker, Rozalina Petrova from the European Commission, to talk about green recovery or going back to normal. And we are also very honored that all the Nordic ambassadors in the Netherlands are joining us for this webinar. And you will hear more and see more of them later on in the webinar as we are going along. For our earlier webinars on 18 of March and the one before, 18 of May and the one before, we were joined with people from all over the globe, actually, and we are very curious to know where are you, our audience, today. So please take a look at our poll and fill in which country you are or which part of the world you are, so that we can see who are joining us to this meeting. Thank you, Josefina. I think we can have a look at the results already. Let's see. We can see that the main part, of course, is from the Netherlands again, which was also for the two other earlier webinars that we have. But we also joined with people from Sweden, Finland, Denmark, other Europe, Asia, and America. So very, very welcome to you all. And we are so pleased that you are joining us today. Before I give the word to our moderator, Andrea Orszag from MissionC, I would like to encourage you to ask your questions by filling them in at the Q&A section, which is below on your screen. And if you need any assistance from us, you can always write your questions or your assistant request in the chat. So with those words, I'm very happy to give the word to Andrea Orszag to take you through to the meeting today.
Thank you very much, Kerstin, and good afternoon, everyone. Big hello to all those people who've been following all those trilogy of webinars. Indeed, as Kerstin already mentioned, we started 2 weeks ago, and this is the third, very last one in our series in Nordic Circular Economy, What's Next? We started quite interestingly talking to all the different think tanks and institutions. What is their take on recovery and what is the role of circular economy? Then last Monday, we got a chance to talk to 3 representatives of 3 leading companies from the Nordics who is dealing currently with the COVID situation. And we got a chance to discuss with them what's going to happen once we really hit the recovery phase. And to finish us off, I'm very glad that today we have with us also Rozalina Petrova, member of the cabinet of the European Union Commissioner responsible for environment, fisheries and ocean. And with Rozalina, we will explore today what is actually the economic recovery going to look like and what's the role of Green Deal and also circular economy in all those decisions going forward. So big warm thank you to everyone who joined us, the ones who've been with us, but also the ones who are with us for the very first time. And hereby, I would like to open the discussion with Rozalina. Hi, Rozalina, welcome.
Hi, Andrea, and hello to all the audience from all over the world. I'm very happy to be here, and just on the eve before the Commission actually adopts its recovery package to be able to discuss with you its main elements and its objectives. So thanks a lot for having me, and I'm looking forward to this short hour ahead.
Much appreciated that you were able to find half an hour for us to discuss indeed what's next. And we know, as you already mentioned, that there's quite a lot happening in terms of putting this recovery package together, and we'll hopefully see what it really looks like for all of us, for the whole European Union in the coming days. But meanwhile, of course, all of us noticed, I think everyone did, that we're currently living in unprecedented surreal times dealing with the COVID-19. And for many companies and for many citizens, this is also a time to really reflect and deal with the current situation. And there's going to be recovery phase coming up soon. And on the European Commission level, there is a recovery package being prepared. Mean, and how does that look like? I know that this is not fully official yet, but we're very grateful for all the information you will be able to share with us, Rozalina. So how will the economic recovery package look like?
Yes, thank you very much. It's indeed, as you said, I cannot go into the details, but I think that already a lot of our leaders have already spoken about the general architecture and the objectives of the package. So a lot is already out there. The details will be fleshed out, and we will see the full package coming out indeed, hopefully on Wednesday. But for now, indeed, I can talk about its main elements. You know, when I started working in the Commission, it was in the aftermath of the previous crisis. So it was back in 2010 when we created a roadmap to a resource-efficient Europe, because we really believed that a sustainable environment and a sustainable society goes hand in hand with economic competitiveness and increasing the resilience of our economy. There were a lot of lessons that were learned from that crisis, and we recently saw leading economists having analyzed the various measures that governments took at that point. It actually, the findings of their study, it was led by leading economists such as Stiglitz, for instance, were that actually measures that were directed towards environmental sustainability and resilience had the best outcomes, also in terms of long-term benefits and benefits on employment and quality of life. And even if we look at a very specific segment of the economy, which is the environmental goods and services, so basically water, waste management, pollution, we see that this sector has been stable even during the crisis period, the previous one. And for instance, the jobs in waste management have increased the last 15 years by 35%. So that's why our intention with this recovery package is to focus on the green transition and to couple this with the digital transition. And these are not, let's say, the trends or transitions that are apart. Let's say you should see that even as the DNA of our society, where the green and digitals and the link between them will provide the impetus to recovery. And that's why we want to drive the recovery into this direction. At the same time, we are also very much aware that companies across the European Union, European citizens, they struggle with the current crisis. And here the efforts of the Commission have been focused in the first months on saving lives and livelihoods. So we have adopted a number of instruments to react immediately to the crisis and to alleviate as much as we can the pain that citizens and companies are facing, because let's face it, this crisis is next to our health, it's also eroding the health of healthy companies. So it's not about, let's say, that companies that in any way will, for instance, suffer in any type of restructuring are hit. Now, a lot of healthy companies are also hit, and also part of our efforts will be also directed to support those companies to survive this period, because we need indeed, we need the European economy to be competitive, and we need it to be sustainable as well. So that's why the package that the Commission is working on has all these elements to preserve the competitiveness, but also to put EU on a longer term sustainable path.
That's really great to hear, Rozalina. Also, the fact that you mentioned that you're really bringing your experience from the previous crisis, and it's great to see that there is a link that sustainable and green companies are actually becoming more and more resilient, despite the fact that they're being hit as well. And exactly as you were talking about the European Green Deal, so the Vice President of the European Commission, Frans Timmermans himself, is constantly ensuring everyone that the Green Deal and sustainable transition, circular economy transition, and digital transition will play a very important role. And that's indeed where the support should be directed. We should really avoid the old structures. I'm really curious on behalf of all those who are joining us, whether live or later offline, how will this look like? How will be decided, like who's getting support, where's going to be the focus, and what to do with the companies that are not having any green policies or plans to transit in place yet?
Right. So first of all, you mentioned the European Green Deal. Indeed, the European Green Deal is our growth strategy, our sustainable growth strategy. It was like that before the crisis. It was a very exciting period to begin with the new commission, with what was supposed to be the smoothest and the greenest decade for a very long time. Then, of course, the coronavirus crisis, it changed the equation. It somehow affected a lot of the enthusiasm for growth. I mean, for growth and for sustainable growth as well. But at the same time, this confinement and all the difficulties that have been faced both by citizens and companies, they have also provoked new kind of thinking of how we would like to see the future. And we see more and more that for our citizens, it's important that this future is sustainable. So we don't see only blue skies now because of reduced pollution, but we also see blue sky thinking. And that's also something that is very important in order to ensure that there is broad support for the sustainability. As our president has already announced to the European Parliament, the recovery will have 3 pillars. The first pillar will basically focus on supporting member states to recover, to repair, and come out stronger and more sustainable from the crisis. And this will, the main thrust of this pillar will be a new recovery and resilience tool, which will support member states in line with the priorities that were identified in the European semester. Again, the European semester, some people may not know what exactly it is. It is the European economic governance mechanism, where the Commission works very closely with the member states and with the other EU institutions to define what are those most important the priorities and reforms that the countries have to carry out. Again, this is a process that I started working on back on 2011. And at that point, we had, let's say, the environment was cared for through other process, not through this one. And again, this year, we were very happy to see that sustainability was put at the heart of the European semester. And just last week, we adopted all the country-specific recommendations. And in all those recommendations, member states are invited to focus investments on the green and digital transition. So this recovery tool will also be centered around the European semester and the recommendations that the member states are given there. At the same time, it will provide sufficient flexibility to the member states to be able to direct the investments where they are most needed, of course. So then there is the second pillar, which is about kickstarting the economy and making sure that private investment gets going again. And this will be done through strengthening the lending facilities of the European Union, through InvestEU and a new solvency mechanism. So we will have also a lot of our priorities that are linked to resilience and sustainability under those instruments as well, would be able to also help the economy and private operators to be more sustainable. Of course, under those mechanisms, we would like to promote also companies that are not so green to become greener, because even if we see our sustainability taxonomy, we indeed have, let's say, investments that are really necessary for the green economy to be put in place. We also need the greening of traditional sectors, and that will be also very important to ensure. And then there will be a third pillar, which is about the most immediate lessons of the crisis, where we work on the resilience, on health issues, on strengthening the research and development pillar of the European Union, which is the Horizon Europe program. And next to these pillars, we should also not forget the tempo. And the tempo is the European Union edifice, and all the legislation and the regulatory underpinning that all this has. And here again, the Commission will be adopting a revised Commission work program, where again, most of the priorities, it will reconfirm the priorities that are related to the green transition, and also the Green Deal. The fact that we are very serious about delivering it is once again confirmed by the adoption of the biodiversity and the farm to fork strategy last week. So these are very important, very forward-looking, very ambitious initiatives that we will really make sure that we also invest in green infrastructure, which is important also for our citizens. This confinement showed how much interconnected green spaces are important for the quality of life of the people. So they are not just making a place for biodiversity, but also a place for us to feel good. And also nature provides ample opportunities to have outdoor activities, ample opportunities for social distancing. So these are the kind of investments that we would also like to see more and more in the future. And we believe that it's really important to have a recovery plan that puts the EU on sustainable path and puts really the interests of the EU citizens at its heart.
Yeah, very interesting what you were just saying. Great to see that there are quite a lot of mechanism in place, and of course now being figured out more into details, so the member countries and everyone affiliated can really take this as a great recommendation and adjust it to their local countries. You were talking about biodiversity, about the nature. Fully with you, we were having quite a lot of conversation how important that is, and all of us finding in nature some sort of a happy place and a perfect space to reflect and recharge with the energy, which of course right now we're not getting perhaps from the traditional office space or discussions with our friends, seeing them face to face. You were talking a lot about what's been happening in the field of supporting sustainability and all this concept around Nordic circular economy. We've been specifically diving into the circular economy as a concept, as the principles that can also help us really radically decrease the CO2 emissions that are needed to make our continent CO2 neutral, which is definitely the goal of the European Union as well. And therefore a question, in February there was already a roadmap towards circular economy and also European action plan launched. I'm really curious what's happening with this concept and with this circular economy plan nowadays, how this will be embedded into the green recovery.
Yes, thank you. That was actually my first file when I joined the cabinet of Commissioner Sinkevičius. But it was not the first time that I was dealing with the circular economy, because the circular economy, it started from the resource efficiency agenda back in 2014, where first package was presented and a detailed plan was presented by the Commission. All of its actions from the 2015 Circular Economy Action Plan were actually implemented, and they really set the scene for a greater ambition. And now with the new Circular Economy Action Plan for a greener and more competitive Europe, we are taking the circular economy to another level. So we would like to accelerate the transition towards the circular economy and to bring the circular economy to the mainstream. So that is very important. And to be honest, we were asking ourselves the question, because the Circular Economy Action Plan was adopted just on the eve of the lockdown throughout Europe. So already the coronavirus has struck hard Italy, and then it was also beginning to spread all over Europe. And we were asking ourselves the question, well, how will this plan be perceived by the European citizens? So would they think, what are those bureaucrats doing or at the EU? Or would they really think, well, this is a good plan? And I think the Circular Economy Action Plan, it really struck a chord with the European citizens, because it was received very well. Even though it was presented at a very difficult time, because I think that the European citizens, they saw that the priorities that they have, that higher quality products that are repairable, they want the right to repair. They want sustainable products to be the norm, not to put all the burden on them to choose or to read, to see what is this label and so on. Although labels are of course very important, but just making sustainability the norm and was something that was very important. And also the circular economy is a key way to increase the resilience of our economy, because by having shorter value chains, by making sure that we get more materials from our products, using waste as a resource, reducing waste, and so on and so forth. These are all actions that can improve our resilience. They also can make products more affordable to the citizens. There are a lot of cost-saving opportunities on that. And also for businesses, it's also cost saving for businesses, because in many manufacturing companies, materials represent around 40% of the cost. So actually using resources more efficiently is also very important. And we see also the new generations going more towards sharing models. And these models also provide another ways of generating added value and then having new business opportunities as such. And though this is very much powered by the digital transition, because it's the digital technologies that empower those kind of models, be it artificial intelligence that can make us, that can help us use resources more efficiently, or 3D printing, or some other, or kind of, let's say, traceability throughout the value chain, so that we have more certainty. So these are all elements that are very important. And the Circular Economy Action Plan is very dear to our heart. We have not stopped working on it. So we have gone ahead with working on all its actions. And the first one actually to come this year would be the action on batteries. Batteries, for instance, is a key value chain, which is of strategic importance to the European Union. We had the Batteries Alliance, and now we have a quite complicated, I must say, legislative proposal on batteries, where we are going on with impact assessment and with making everything possible so that we deliver it early in autumn this year. Work is also going on the Sustainable Product Policy Initiative, on fleshing out the right to repair, proposals on green claims, and so on and so forth. And also we would like to indeed to identify those proposals that could also be financed by the member states and get support, be it in better waste management, be it in circular business models, and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Rozalina, because indeed the discussions we were having up till now, it became very clear that companies and individuals, everyone's really very curious to understand what's going to be the regulation that would incentivize the ones that are really very keen to hop on board and be part of accelerating circular economy, making it a reality for us, because in the end it's about all of us, our well-being, our health, as you've been mentioning as well in the examples. So many companies are really looking up to the regulation, what's going to change, and what's really going to give a big nudge to infrastructure being there, enabling everything you've been mentioning, repairs, shorter supply chains, and so on. Really curious. So all those regulations and all those different programs are literally aimed to make it very clear that the European Commission and European Union is behind this and really keen to accelerate the transition towards circular economy. How about these citizens? How to make it very practical for them? What is it that they can do, what all of us can do to contribute towards this transition?
Well, I think that indeed everybody of us has a role. I personally am not a very big, let's say, proponent on saying that it's up to the citizens to choose. I think that we have to make sustainable choices for people easier, and this is what we are going to try to do with the Sustainable Product Policy Initiative, where we would really try to make sustainable products the norm. As regards the right to repair, again, people should have access to repair services, to products that are repairable. And but next to that, indeed, every one of us is empowered. And then there will be other actions that will empower as such citizens and consumers in the circular economy. But of course, in our everyday lives, we can make a lot of sustainable choices. And some of those choices are not very difficult. For instance, using less single-use products, looking for opportunities to reuse, to have higher quality products. And we see that also in the younger generation, all this vintage clothing and then many other, let's say, more sustainable models are popping up. We also, every time that we ask our questions, yeah, should we buy a car? Should we, for instance, use more multimodal transports and then take the bike? So all these kind of everyday choices that we make are very important. It's the same with, for instance, with separating our waste. I mean, the waste in particular, the households, is in our hands. So basically, if we don't participate in the circular economy by making sure that we deliver, it's not waste, it's valuable material that we have in our hands, then the whole industry will not be able to function properly. So the circular economy in this case really starts with us. There are numerous opportunities to the citizens, but we also have to make it easy to the citizens to choose those options. And this is what we are, as a regulator, this is what we are going to focus on. But of course, it's also, as I said, it's up to the European Commission to create the conditions, but also all these actions on national and local level are very important to be in line with our efforts, because many of the circular economy initiatives start also at local levels, be it by establishing reuse centers, like we have repair shops, we have also local initiatives, let's say, to compost. We also have the local planning that has to give sufficient places for sharing facilities, be it for cars, be it for bikes. It's the urban planning that has to design the bike lanes, for people to be able to use. So that's why it needs really a concerted approach. And we have invited a number of times to the member states also to adopt their own circular economy plans and to see how all this comes together. And then that's why also we have the European Green Deal, because it puts actually all these elements together in a more coherent fashion. So indeed, we very much depend on our citizens to take part and make it happen on the ground. Because when we talk about citizens, of course, those citizens are also managers of companies as well, or workers. And it's important to, let's say, to live the circular economy not only in our everyday lives, but also at the workplace where we take also certain decisions. So all this is important, and it's indeed, it's not about an additional cost. It's actually the opposite, that in the end it will bring cost-saving opportunities, more competitiveness, and better quality of life at a actually lower cost for society and for individual businesses and citizens.
Fantastic. So win-win-win situation absolutely for everyone who's involved in all of this. And indeed, despite the fact that we're living in unprecedented and surreal times full of challenges, based on everything what you just said, Rozalina, it's becoming very clear that this is also for all of us an opportunity to really decide how the future will look like, and future that's hopefully really better for all of us. There are quite a lot of questions coming from our audience, and I would love to pick this up, at least some of them. Before we get there, I'm also absolutely happy that we're having with us also 4 ambassadors to the Nordic countries who will get a chance to share with us how does it look like actually already on specific countries within the European Union and Norway as well. So I'm very happy that today we got a chance to welcome with us Jens Otto Horsund, who's the ambassador of Denmark to the Netherlands, Martin Sorby, the ambassador of Norway to the Netherlands, Annika Markovic, the Swedish ambassador representing Sweden in the Netherlands, and also Päivi Kaukoranta, who's the ambassador from Finland here in the Netherlands. So warm welcome to all 4 of you. And looking around, I see that we're still missing Päivi a little bit. I hope she will be able to join us soon. But Annika, let me please start with you representing Sweden and ask you right away. We're talking a lot about the regulations on the European Commission level. How is this developing in Sweden on the national level? What are right now the policies Sweden is putting in place to enable circular economy and the transition towards it?
Thank you very much, Andrea. I'm really happy to be in this webinar. And Sweden is taking pride in being one of the world's leading countries when it comes to sustainability, green solutions, and the digital world. So we really have the ambition to lead in the way of living up to international climate goals, to the objectives of Agenda 2030, and to go from a linear to a fossil-based economy to a certain and bio-based one. So in 2018, the Swedish government established a circular economy delegation to strengthen the national, regional, and local change to a resource-efficient, circular, and bio-based economy. And through this, it was developed a national strategy for circularity, and we also created circular economy programs. So the Swedish government is working together with the business sector and want really to create a strong driving force for this transition. And then we have taken this at the embassy to the local level. So at the Swedish embassy here in The Hague, we have taken several initiatives to replace the take, make, and dispose model, and to highlight the importance of long-lasting design, of maintenance, repair, reuse, and recycling. So to give one example, we arrange a yearly, very successful, I'm happy to say, sustainable fashion event in The Hague, with a clothes swapping, where hundreds of guests actually come with their used clothes. They hand in old clothes, and then they can swap them for other old clothes, used clothes that we have in the residence. And this is a super popular yearly event that we have. And we also consider sustainable food, food recycling, and food tech to be another of our core areas for the promotional activities that we do. And we only serve sustainable food events. So finally, I just want to really emphasize that this transition to a circular economy is an important policy area for collaboration between Sweden, the Nordic countries, and the Netherlands. So sustainable and green innovation is also in the center of the long-term bilateral relationship that Sweden is promoting here with the Netherlands. So we are really working with this. Every day is Circular Day in the Swedish Embassy.
That's fantastic, Annika. Really great to see, especially also the examples happening at the embassy level, making it a little bit practical, and for citizens also directly be able to contribute. Thanks a lot for that. Martin, I'm looking at you. You're representing Norway here in the Netherlands. And of course, we know that Norway is not directly part of the European Union. However, it's definitely part of European Economic Area, representing the European Free Trade Association. So really curious, what can Norway bring to the table when it comes to circular economy and European Commission? Martin, I think we have you on mute. Super.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Great. Okay, thank you very much, Andrea, and a warm thanks to Mrs. Petrova for this excellent presentation of the Commission policy. And for all, I wish to start off by saying that we are very grateful for the lead the Commission, the European Commission, is taking in this area. And we are also impressed by the ambitions signaled in the Circular Economy Action Plan. And our own government in Norway is currently working on a circular economy strategy to be launched by the end of this year. And of the many focus areas in the strategy, I would like to mention one of particular importance to Norway, being a front runner in the electrification of the transport sector. And this in itself is important to limit greenhouse gases, as we all know, but more importantly, our strategy will also address the product design and recycling of batteries and fuel cells to make it sustainable and circular. And the action on batteries was also mentioned by Mrs. Petrova, of course. However, if we really want to create a circular economy globally, I think we should also think larger than just the Nordics and Europe. And in this perspective, I would also like to mention very briefly 3 initiatives taken by Norwegian government. Firstly, a new global agreement on plastics. That's a high priority for Norway, and to continue the valuable cooperation with the European Union in this area is also crucial for us. Secondly, Norway was also actively involved in the establishment of the United Nations International Resource Panel, which is a scientific panel of experts that aims to help nations use natural resources sustainably without compromising economic growth and human needs. Lastly, through, for example, the Norwegian Development Program to combat marine litter and microplastics, we support and fund several different initiatives in developing countries. So our own common commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals means that we also have to support those countries that do not have adequate funds to come up with the proper tools and resources to create a circular economy by themselves. Allow me to finish by quoting our own campaign for the United Nations Security Council, the election which is going to take place mid-June next month, that Norway is a consistent partner working for a common future. So thank you very much, Andrea.
Thank you for those insights, Ambassador Sorby. Indeed, great to see that a country not directly being a part, but working very closely, is fully aligned with the whole mission and with all the goals that are being established. Whether we're talking about electrification, e-mobility, but the same definitely applies to the plastics that you've been talking about. So really great to see, and absolutely. We got to start somewhere, so it's great that this is happening at the European Union level or European Economic Area level. But there are indeed many other countries that can learn a lot. We can learn from as well, and they don't actually need to go through the whole journey we went through. They can leapfrog directly to all those great solutions that are already put in place. So thanks a lot for highlighting that. I see that we have also Ambassador of Finland to the Netherlands, Päivi Kaukoranta, with us online. Päivi, can you hear us? Great. If we can just unmute you very quickly. We can see Päivi very well. I can just see she's on mute. Oh, fantastic. Loud and clear. And we can also see you very well, Päivi. So welcome. And yeah, we were having quite a lot of discussions indeed on what's happening at the European Commission level. And right now it's also quite curious to hear and see how actually will circular economy play a role when it comes to post-COVID-19 recovery? How is this currently in Finland and from the Finnish perspective?
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you for Rozalina Petrova for her thoughts. We've been hearing of blue sky thinking, and we hope that the recovery after Corona is green and it gives a boost to the circular transition. Finland had just published an update to the National Circular Economy Roadmap last year, and its implementation had just begun when the Corona crisis hit. Now we have our focus in mitigating the negative effects of Corona. We also must make already plans for the recovery. Depending on the choices we make, the economic recovery measures will either postpone or support the resolution of an ecological sustainability crisis. About a month ago, our Minister of the Environment and Climate Change appointed a working group to draft proposals for sustainable post-Corona recovery. And as the Minister said, we will survive the crisis, but at the same time, we are building a fossil-free society for the day after tomorrow. The recovery shall not slow down the circular economy, but rather give it a boost. The working group looks specifically into the energy sector, environment, industry, and food production. And circular economy is named as one of the cross-cutting themes as it helps to respond to both climate and biodiversity crisis at the same time. And for the radical changes that heavy industries and manufacturing might be facing, circular economy is of utmost importance. Emission reductions improve the competitiveness of these sectors, especially in the longer term, and therefore climate funding should be used in ways that help the industrial sector to green their processes. And the working group is looking for the best means for this. The group has already submitted some proposals to the supplementary budget, and its interim report is due by the end of this month, and longer-term proposals by the end of September. So things are underway. And also for the economic recovery, the Corona, after Corona, international trade and relations will be perhaps more important than ever, and circular economy will remain a focus for the innovation and trade promotion work we do here in the Netherlands. Thank you.
Fantastic to hear. Thank you so much, Baby. And also, you were talking about the roadmap. We know that the very first country within the European Union to launch a roadmap focusing on circular economy and how to get there. So it's great that there is updated version, and yeah, looking forward to see how the implementation of this new version will look like in practice. Saying that, we've been discussing quite a lot of great initiatives that are indeed circular economy initiatives, helping us to use resources more efficiently and therefore lowering the greenhouse gas emissions. One way how to do that is also switching to renewable resources, and therefore it's quite exciting that Denmark just a few days ago announced the two big projects building green energy islands, and therefore I'm very happy that we have Jens Otto Horslund, the ambassador of Denmark to the Netherlands, with us here as well. And Jens Otto, can you please tell us a little bit more about those projects? What is it all about? What can we look forward to?
Thank you very much, Andrea. It's really great to be here with you and under your able leadership of this webinar. It's a difficult way to communicate, but anyway, thank you. Well, I would like to start out with a few remarks because I do very much subscribe to the approach by the Commission. My Prime Minister has been very firm on this. Things are not going to be the same after this Corona crisis. So don't waste a good crisis. Look into the future. Let's make a better future for ourselves. And therefore, we already established by our Parliament and by law, with our Parliament by law, the most ambitious target on climate in December last year, 70% reduction in 10 years from now in 2030 and full reduction in 2050. Then it's our intention to reach this target. It's not a question about either or, but in fact, going that way is the way out of the economic crisis that we have put ourselves into or ended up in because of the Corona crisis. So that is the approach by my government. That is basically, that's my own words, don't go back to black, if you know the AC/DC song, but go green. It's not an either or. And so like other Nordic countries, we do quite a lot on circular economy already, but we must do much more to fulfill this target. I think circular economy is a concept in a way that it must sort of be a part of our DNA. in all parts of society in order to work. And I hope that we can move along together, all of us, that way. Now, last week, in order to fulfill the 70% in 10 years from now, circular economy is not sufficient. So we need transforming to the green future requires determination, courage, and tough decisions, bold decisions. And last week, my government actually made one. We're going to plan, at least, to build 2 giant energy islands as you know, a part of the most ambitious offshore wind project. And it will be the biggest single infrastructure project in Denmark's history at all. So it will be a part of the climate plan that is still under creation, and it will be financed through public-private partnership with the majority funding from private investors. That's also important, a huge price tag. But traditionally, we have had these offshore farms, you know, producing winds and going onshore. But now we build islands, we collect so to say, the electricity on an island, and then we transform it to different parts, not only of our country, because we're going to have 2 islands. They will produce much more electricity than we can use ourselves, so we can sell it to other countries. This idea about having these islands was originally generated by TenneT, the electrical provider here in the Netherlands, together with Elnet Denmark, and therefore the ambition is a common ambition. There will be connection from the island, not so much in the Baltic Sea. There will be 1 island and 1 in the North Sea, and we can connect to the Netherlands, and we can build more islands together. So this is basically going to be a common project, primarily with the Netherlands, but of course countries like Norway, the United Kingdom, and Germany, and certainly maybe also, I would say, Belgium and France. And because of the grid that we already have, the exemplary cooperation that we have among the Nordic states, we can actually exchange electricity also with Sweden and Finland, Norway, and all the way around. This is the way forward. We will also go, of course, into hydrogen. There is a lot being done already in the Netherlands and in Denmark and other countries. So we'll have this power to X function, maybe not tomorrow, but in some years from now. So my message is we cannot go it alone, but we must walk together, like Liverpool. You never walk alone. So.
Fantastic, and a great conclusion to everything that's been mentioned, all those fabulous initiatives that are already in place. Thank you so much, dear ambassadors, for finding time in your busy schedule to join us and deliver important message that this is indeed not just something that is on a theoretical level, but this is really happening in specific countries around Europe. Thank you so much, Ambassador Annika Markovic, Ambassador Päivi Kaukoranta, Ambassador Jens Otto Horslund, and Ambassador Martin Sorby. Thank you so much for joining us here. Rozalina, we are almost there, almost 3 p.m. and I've been going through all those questions. However, I would love to build on what's been mentioned during those 4 short statements, what is happening on a country level. A lot's been discussed in terms of collaboration, cooperation. We're not alone in this. That's why European Union exists in the first place. How do you see this recovery and post-COVID situation, collaboration going forward? What is your closing statement on all of this, Rozalina?
Thank you very much, and then thank you, ambassadors, for sharing all those initiatives. Of course, about many of them we are aware because we are following very closely what is happening in the member states, because it is from the member states, from local and regional solutions that are actually the best sources of inspiration also for European policies. I think that on your question about the EU, the crisis and the recovery, I think that there have been voices that this crisis will not be only health economic crisis, but it will be also a crisis of the EU. But at the same time, I think that we have a unique opportunity to build a stronger EU out of the crisis, a more sustainable EU. And we have really the opportunity to change the path, to go on a more sustainable path, and to increase the cooperation among the member states, because it is in this crisis that how much we need this close cooperation. We need it for health issues, we need it for our energy transitions, we need it for our environmental goals, pollution, climate change, biodiversity loss. They don't respect national borders as the virus does not. So I think we really have a unique opportunity to build a stronger, more coherent European Union, to increase our cooperation also on sustainability matters, to set the way also for a global transformation. As the Norwegian ambassador said, it is very important, and part of our circular economy plan is exactly about you going global on the sustainable dimension, and be it whether it will be a global agreement on plastics, on resources. All these multilateral initiatives are also very, very, very important, and it's from the action of the individual citizens through the local communities, national level, regions, EU, and globally, that will make the difference. And I think that we really have to use this opportunity to the best. Europe, in many cases, it was integration was done in let's say good times, but a lot of achievements of the EU have their seats also in crisis situations, and then I think that this crisis provides this opportunity to set the EU on a more sustainable path with more cohesion. Indeed, even when we say about the circular economy, we know that the Nordic countries, they are the champions in the circular economy, and we want to bring all the countries on that path. So also the countries that are where the circular economy is not yet so prominent, and that would be key for the European Union to succeed in that. And in general, I think in order to flatten the curve in environmental degradation, to flatten the curve in climate change and in biodiversity loss, and this curve we know is growing exponentially, and we don't have any vaccine against this. We have our common efforts. We have to make these efforts together. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much, Rozalina, for those words. And it puts a really big smile on my face to hear that while you were talking about collaboration, the need for it, that it's already happening. And the collaboration is actually making the whole point of European Union even stronger. And everyone, at least like the faces you can see on screen, nodding. And I really hope that was also a reaction of many people whose faces we can't see right now. But indeed, together we're stronger. And those webinars really prove the point that despite challenging times, this is really the time for looking into opportunities and deciding how our future will look like to ensure that this is a livable planet and better world for all of us. So I want to say big thank you to all of our speakers. They're Rozalina Petrova, ambassadors, and hereby I would like to give the word to Kerstin on behalf of the organization team. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would like to join Andrea to thank Rozalina Petrova for your very, very inspiring, interesting presentation, and for all the ambassadors for joining us today and giving your personal statements from your country and from your embassies. So, and I would also like to thank Andrea, of course, not only for today, but for guiding us through 3 seminars on the very important topic of circular economy. And we are very, very much looking forward to Andrea's article on the 3 of them, and that we can publish on respective webinar websites and also in our social media connections. So it has been a true honor for the Swedish Chamber to work together with the Nordic Embassies and the chambers in this series, and we are looking forward to do something again together on sustainability and circular economy in the fall. So please be tuned in to all our chambers and embassies, because we will be back and we will not stop to follow this really very important topic on circular economy. And let's not hope that we are going back to old normal, but that there will be a new normal, which will also include circular economy. So I would like to thank everybody for joining us all over the world again. And Andrea, thank you so much, and wishing you all a very, very nice day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great day, and let's make this a good recovery.
Thank you.